So, hey, I've never considered myself to be addicted to really anything. Maybe coffee at this point in my life, but I've never had the porn addiction, the drug addiction, the alcohol addiction. Have I partaken in lifestyles that could have led to an addiction? Sure. Growing up in life and being in the world and college and a fraternity doing those things, yeah, I wandered down many paths that could have been uh, dangerous, destructive, and addictive. But I've never battled with addiction really, and I got to tell you, today came to me and hit me like a ton of bricks that maybe we are more addicted to the intangibles in life than we think. And if we don't ever kind of come to terms with those and admit those and identify those, then we're just going to continue going down that path and being addicted, but not even realizing it. So today I'm going to call this thumb click hug addiction, not to be confused with drug addiction, but the thumb click technically, I guess, could be considered a drug if you're so consumed by it as a lot of people are, and as I have been tempted to be at times. But thumb click hug addiction, and I'll build some framework around this to help you contextualize what I'm saying. But glad you're joining me today. Glad to be with you. Glad to have the opportunity to share this with you and be transparent, because I call these episodes, the umbrella kind of overarching these are it's called the in the mirror, right? And so it's me really convicting myself of a lot of these things. And so hopefully that helps you, because it's biblical. The Bible says by the word of our testimony, right? And the blood of the lamb. So we overcome. So hopefully my thoughts and my experiences and my failures, even my wins, as well, the things I've done right, will help you, because the Bible does say we learn from each other and we overcome by hearing about other people's journeys. So hopefully that helps you. So today I'm going to be right up against it, right in my own face, getting in the mirror big time. So the thumb click hug addiction, I would say, has, and let me build framework. So it comes back to the five love languages that I've read about in the past, and they're very impactful in life, and people haven't always adopted those. There's folks that don't even know those exist, but those that do have really attributed some serious validity to them. And the five love languages, if you don't know, are just the ways people respond to what they respond most to. So if I'm giving a gift to someone whose love languages is gifts, receiving gifts, they are responding. That impacts them more than maybe me giving them a hug. So the five love languages are, again, like one I said, time, quality time, gifts, words of affirmation, acts of service, and physical touch. So there's five there, and one I kind of snuck in there hoping you didn't quite catch it, but I'm going to shine a big light on it today, is words of affirmation. That has been my Achilles heel my whole life. And I can't say that I grew up without it, which is why I need it so much. I mean, I was an only child, and my parents obviously reinforced me positively, and when I needed it, negatively. But I always had that reinforcement, that confirmation, that affirmation, that validation from my parents, to keep going, that encouragement. You're doing okay. You're doing a good job. Hey, course correct, but we believe in you. We love you. I had all that, and not everybody can say that. So I'm very grateful for that. And it's not lost on me that I grew up with more than some, and more than some people had. So I'm grateful. But as an adult, words of affirmation has kind of lingered throughout my life. It's kind of followed me. And that's what I don't know about these love languages is do we outgrow them? Do we add to them? Yeah, you can have more than one, but there's always a hierarchy in everything. So I believe that words of affirmation is number one, big time in my life, with a huge separation to number two and three. Not that I've even given any thought to what those are, because affirmation is such a glaring, obvious choice. So it can be a slippery slope when that's your love language. I guess with anything in moderation, you know, we can get into a slippery slope if we get obsessive about something. But I got to say, when it comes to the world of social media and being in the podcast space, or being in, uh, the social media space, which everybody I know really is. I mean, everybody has something to say, and everyone's always on their phone in their social media. So this would apply to a lot of people. But I've started to realize in the podcast space, the climate gets thick with comparisons. It gets thick with the need for affirmation and validation of a message, especially when all you have is a message, right? You need some sort of idea or feedback. And how do we get the feedback, right? The number of likes, the number of followers, the number of subscribers, um, the number of shares, whatever. I mean, it gets, in my opinion, and I'm speaking for me, it gets toxic when it comes to the level by which I monitor those and view my success based on that criteria. So this could apply to anywhere in life. If you're needing the affirmation from coworkers in order to do your job better, or your boss, if you're needing your spouse to tell you you're always doing good in order to be a better husband, we are setting ourselves up for a disappointing journey. And it does parallel in all aspects of life. So I'm going to dial into this in regards to thumb clicks, our hug addiction, the thumb click that I, make the metaphor of a hug virtually and digitally. That's our hug. When someone likes our post, that's a hug for us, right? That's an attaboy. That's a pat on the back. Good job. Like, so we get consumed by the need for more likes and thumb clicks and virtual hugs in a virtual world. So that applies. But I got to say, there's a difference between like responding to affirmation, like that being a trigger for you in a good way. And it's kind of okay, yeah, reinforcement. And there's a difference in responding to it that way and then depending on it, depending on affirmation. That's, like I said earlier, the slope, the slipperiness of that slope, the fine line. Like we get into a sketchy area when we start depending on it. So I'll get to that in a minute, more about that. But so, why do we need it? I believe everybody needs affirmation in some way, to some degree, and at some time in their life. We've got a lot of guys out there, and I respect a lot of them for what they're doing in this world as men and husbands and providers and protectors. But we got a lot of guys out there like, I don't need no affirmation. I know I'm good. Like, I'm the man. I don't need you to tell me. You know what I mean? We got some of that. And I think there's a false sense of security, or I think it's just flat out denial. But we all need affirmation. Like, we're built and wired to encourage each other and reciprocate that. And it's a two-way street. So I think we all thrive in that environment. But there's a difference in thriving in and needing it all the time. So that's what, transparently, that's what I would like to kind of shed some light on my life and help you, hopefully, in the end. But why do we need it, though? Like, I think Obviously, it validates our message. You know, someone telling us that was good, or hey, that did something, that meant something, that resonated, that validates our message. Like, that keeps us going. There's nothing wrong with that. We need that, right, to get kind of an idea of, hey, that message worked, it resonated, that training, or that, the knowledge I have, the experiences, that benefited and served somebody. So that's, our message, or what we represent. Like, sometimes our message is kind of who we are and what we represent. And so it's good to get the reinforcement of that. And so I think, that's one reason I need it. I think that's one reason everybody kind of needs it. That's fairly straightforward. But, the other reason we need it is, I think it's a fix. I've never been a drug addict. Like I said, I've known a few. And what I take away from the addiction, again, I'm not someone who speaks from exact experience, and I'm not a psychologist, but that addiction, we need that fix because chemically it does something to us. Now, we know it doesn't benefit us, but the reaction to exposure to that substance, and you can fill in the blank whatever the substance is. In this case, it's affirmation. We can get addicted to it because of what it triggers in us chemically, emotionally, right? It's a motivator because it's attractive. Just because it's attractive doesn't mean it's addicting. I'm not saying that, but I will say that it can lead, enough attraction can lead to an addiction and a need to have more of it. And so it becomes motivating when I would say affirmation and encouragement and validation begets affirmation, encouragement, and validation. Like, the more you get of that, the more you find yourself attracted to it and needing it, which motivates you to keep doing the same behavior because the result yields that addicting thing that you need, that substance of appreciation, encouragement, those things. And like I said, as people, it's not unhealthy to want to be appreciated and encouraged and affirmed. There's nothing unhealthy about it. It's the opposite. But it's to the degree that we need it and get addicted to it, and it becomes our driving force. So that's the second one, why I think we need it. The first one was like, I think it validates our message and what we represent. The second one is it can be addicting, which then becomes very motivating to continue whatever behavior got that affirmation. And then what I also think is the reason that I need it. I think that we see others are getting it, so we think we deserve it too. We want what others have, consciously or subconsciously, in life. When we see success, we want success. When we watch it from the sideline and our neighbor and what he's pulling into his driveway, then maybe we want that too. We find ourselves kind of envying, or we do get into this trap of comparisons, and we definitely get into this trap of wanting what others have when it's attractive. But yeah, we also think we deserve it. That's the sick part of it. Like, I'll be honest, like, I've watched other people and some of their audience and following, and yeah, they've been doing it longer, but I noticed the message doesn't kind of zap me like I want it to zap me. Like, it doesn't, that message or the way they articulate, or maybe even just their writing style. Maybe I'm being critical, but I'm looking at it going, yeah, okay, I get what they're saying. It's decent, but my goodness, so many people are just all over that, loving that. And I don't understand that. So to me, that's me criticizing somebody else's message, I guess, in a way, if I'm being honest. But it's like, if they're getting that from that, I think my message is probably a little better, and I'm not getting, so I deserve what they're getting because I think my product's at least as good. And see, that's a trap. I mean, I deserve, man, I hate that word so much. The deserve, nobody's entitled to anything. People earn what they earn and get what they get. That's none of your business, none of my business. So that's a big one for me that I fall into. Like, well, they've got it, and my message is every bit as good. So it's not an equal output. It's not always like, doesn't make sense. It's not always 2 + 2, but you know, certain people put in more time. They've built that following. They've gotten those people to believe in them. Who am I to say that I deserve the same thing? So that's me getting on me, like I said I would today, in the mirror. So if you're honest, you find yourself in that trap as well. And I think if you're honest, you would understand and relate to what I'm saying about, you think you deserve something somebody else is getting because you think your product's every bit as good. So you fill in the blanks where that is in your life, but that's what I'm trying to say, is that that's not always a healthy space. All right. So we're going to jump into why I reached out to you today. Okay. Because I think my failures and my experience can help somebody. And like so many people that I respect and go to for counsel and advice and guidance say, if one person gets it, that's enough. So, all right, for you one person listening today, 3 ways you can social distance from your hug dependence. All right. Distance from our dependence. All right. We're going to do a little social distancing from our hug dependence. We're going to get a little arm's length from this thing, the 6 feet of separation that we're all trapped into for the last 2 years. So yeah, that's what I've got 3 things that I want to share with you. I think it'll help you because I think it helps me kind of understand how I get better here. Boy, that coffee's good. I don't know about you, but I'm having a cup of coffee right now. It's really good. So pardon me for that interruption. So first one I would say is we got to exit from exposure. Yeah. We got to limit our screen time. We got to find gap fillers for our time. Like, we are exposed to so much information. We got to find the exit sign and get out of there at times. We have got to put the device down. We have got to get off the screen, get into an activity, get into alone time out on the back patio in a chair. Just find a chair, find a step, find something to sit on, breathe in some air. Like, we've got to fill some gaps, and we've got to create those gaps in our social media time, our screen time. Like, I think if we wanted to, we could look at that phone let's be honest. Who doesn't look at the phone when they're going to the bathroom? Who doesn't look at the phone when they're on an elevator? Who doesn't look at their phone when they're in the car with their spouse? I mean, everywhere we go on a walk, man. It's hard to read a social media post when you're walking down the street. If you can do it, that even is more proof, and you are proving my point even more of the evidence that we need to get away from the screen. If you're walking, my dad used to say you can't walk and chew gum at the same time. He would use that in reference to people that weren't the brightest bulb in the box. But, it's hard to walk and chew gum at the same. It really isn't. But it's hard to walk and watch your phone and read a post at the same time. It really is. So I think you got to get active, get out there and get away from it. So exit the exposure, man. Exit from it. Schedule the time if you need to. Here's a thought that's counterintuitive and is kind of a funny paradox, if you will. But to get off of your screen time, you should schedule it in your phone to pop up on your screen that you need to get away from your screen. How about that? Yeah, that my mind just blew up a little bit right there. I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. But no, Some of us need that babysitter to tell us to get away from our phone. So exit from exposure. That helps with our hug dependence, right? So the second one I would say is magnify the mission. um, if you're doing something that requires you to post on social media, or you're a podcast person, or you're a writer, you're a blogger, you're just a person who's wanting to send out encouraging messages on social media. If you're that person, um, dude, just remember why you're doing something. And I believe we are beating the dead horse of find your why. What's your why? I believe in that. I definitely think it's important, but I think that's everybody's crutch now, is the why factor. Like, everybody wants to use the what's your why. Okay, well, great. I agree with that. You got to have your why. And in this case, you need to remind yourself of why you're doing something, why it's your mission. What is the big picture? What's the end game? What's the long game? Is it helping people? Is your message, do you believe that you've prayed in your time alone and you feel God has anointed this moment in time for you to do what you're doing? Do you feel like he has confirmed to you that you're part of your plan and purpose and calling is to do what you're doing in this moment with your messaging, your podcasting, your social media, whatever? If you're convinced that it's meant for a reason bigger than you, then that's your mission. That's what we got to get back to. Every time we got to remind ourselves. And that's enough to separate and distance from this dependence of needing all these hugs on social media, these confirmations, these likes, these followers. So that's for me, guys. Like, that's me talking to me. But I guarantee you I'm not the only one. So I've got to confirm my coordinates as well. That goes into this whole magnify the mission and understand and remind why we're doing it. We got to confirm our coordinates. Check back in with yourself. Where do I want to be with this? Where do I want this to go? Where's the destination? Maybe there's not a destination. Maybe it's an ongoing purpose and plan and mission that you have. Maybe it is. Great. But confirm those coordinates. Am I reaching that audience? Have I dialed into who I want to impact the most? Okay, check. Has that wavered or changed? No, check. So that's the same people that I'm helping as I was a year ago. Yep, check. Okay, so I confirm those coordinates. I'm pressing forward, like we're going full steam ahead, right? Full throttle in that direction because I confirm those coordinates. Now, if you check in and you need to reset those, recalibrate some of those because your audience changed, because your mission maybe changed, maybe the avenue by which you get there changed, guess what? That's okay to reset and recharge, recalibrate. So do that. But you got to confirm the coordinates. So the final one, right? I said I'd give you 3. All right, I gave you 2. The first one was exit from exposure. Second one was magnify the mission. The last one, and maybe even the most, not maybe, it is the most important. Who and whose. Right? That's it. Simple as that. Who are you and whose are you? So the who is you're God's image that he designed. In his image, he designed you, right? Bible says God created man and woman in his image. In his image, he created them, right? Look in Genesis. We get away from that because it's so like an afterthought. It's so like the most basic thing ever. God created us. Well, that means a little more than just basic definition. Like, I think who we are is important. Like, he designed us. We're in his image. He created. So that's a big deal. Like, he didn't do that because he was bored. He didn't do that without a mission and plan in mind. He didn't do that because we were inferior, less than creatures, right? We're his. We're called for a way more than we ever think we are. We underestimate what his intent was when he did that, when he made you, when he made me. So we are in God's image. That's who we are. We're the people that he made for a reason. That should be enough to keep you going on whatever you're doing, your mission, whatever goal, whatever purpose you have. Like, if he created you for something and he put those gifts in you for a reason, and you're not like anyone else, then go with it. Go with that. Stay there. Stay on that path. And that whose you are, right? Who and whose you are. We're his chosen people. He calls us things that lift us up. He calls us more than conquerors. He calls us royal priesthoods, holy nations of people. He calls us mighty men of valor. It's countless how many times God speaks through people or directly from his mouth to people in the Bible and reminding them of their power, reminding them of their greatness, their impact, their value, their influence. He reminds us all the time, but we forget still. Because in our finite little human minds, we get wrapped around the axle with all that's going around us, the distractions, the comparisons, the toxic environments that we're in, relationships that are unnecessary weight. We lose sight of basic creation 101. We're created in his image and we're more than conquerors. Okay? So what we're talking about today is getting away from this hug addiction, the thumb click hug addiction that we so desperately seek and need and think we live on and thrive on. We don't. It's a lie to ourselves. So back to basics. We're God's design, created in his image. We're more than conquerors. We're men of valor. We are royal priesthoods. That says we can go forward and conquer. That says we can do more than conquer. That's enough for me. To me, if we weigh this on a scale of value, eternal importance, and eternal value, like that tips the scale significantly more than a thumb click that affirms what I'm saying on social media. So that was for somebody more than just for me, I promise. That was more than just me telling myself that I need to be better at this and that I need to social distance from the hug dependence, right? This is for more than just me. So I hope that landed somewhere. I hope that stuck. And I hope that made you better. Till next time, be blessed.